So, I'm a huge fan of anime, have been for as long as I can remember. But do you want to know the best thing about anime itself? Is that there is always a genre for anyone and everyone to enjoy. Such examples are action-based animes, romance, sports, other things. Anime practically has it all. So, as a newer potential anime fan, I hear you asking, what animes should I watch first? Well, dear viewer, let's talk about it. Up first is Sander, a show that revolves around Christmas. Well, not so much Christmas, more so the idea of growing up in a world without Christmas. But what makes this anime such a fun watch is how absurd and creative the show actually is, being set in Japan where the population is steadily declining, and younger people therefore become more valued than older people. It's a fairly short anime, only having around 10 episodes as of this recording, so if you're interested in watching this show, it's free to watch on Amazon. Up next is Freerun. Although the show itself does have a standard and generic setting within a fantasy world, Freerun manages to expand generic and common traits often seen in other media, which is made evident by the races of the world. For example, elves are usually seen as humanoid bow-wielding creatures, whilst dwarves are typically blacksmiths. But in Freerun's case, a lot of these creatures aren't stereotypical. The elves can live up to hundreds of years, demons are portrayed as inherently evil, and dwarves are seen as strong, capable fighters. The world building through the perspective of Freerun herself is an interesting concept, which justifies the huge time skips, making the world feel as if it's actually changing and evolving. Overall, this show is a good watch. Too bad it didn't win Anime of the Year though. Next is a fairly older anime, being Hell's Paradise. What makes this such a good anime is how it manages to develop its world through the influence of real-world philosophy and the integration of otherworldly creatures that are essentially the main foil to the main characters, as well as being a more darker themed anime with complex characters and narrative that drives those characters' motivations. Plus the premise and world itself feels very expansive given the limited setting which takes place on a magical island. In the next spot is Dawn the Dawn. If you aren't familiar with this series, buckle up because it gets weird. Now in this show, there are all manners of creatures, ranging from aliens, yokais, which are basically Japanese spiritual creatures, and other weird things I can't even begin to explain. So the main plot of the show is that a kid loses his family jewels. If you know, you know. Never in all my life have I heard or experienced such a premise quite like this one, but that's honestly what makes the series so good in my opinion. It's also notable for its romance and how it gravitates between light-hearted humor and heart-wrenching moments. So my most recommended anime has to be Gachiakuta. No surprise there. This is by far the best and my personal favorite new gen anime, period. I can't begin to explain what makes this anime so good, and it's not even up for discussion. The name Gachiakuta itself is literally a translation of trash, which is the main premise of the entire show, but isn't what defines it. This show is just incredible with how it's able to tell its story in such a way that is so nuanced and unconventional of older animes, which I feel is actually a really good thing that should be encouraged more in newer animes, with being able to tell much more cohesive and compelling stories without feeling pressured to add things that audiences prefer in older animes. So that just about sums up my recommended anime list. For those of you who may disagree with my list, I completely understand. I would love to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Anyways, if you ended up making it this far, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you are new. So with all that being said, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.